Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is the second part of Cisco Jabber Bootup process. So in the first part, we discussed about the Cisco Jabber like when we are on a corporate network. So now we will discuss about the Jabber Bootup process when the Jabber client is on the internet. Like if the Jabber client which is on the machine is not connected to VPN or not on the corporate network. It will be connected on the internet. So we will check all these things. Like I will give you a brief idea about these things first here with the steps, and then I will show you with the flow diagram. So in the same thing, first one, the first step would be the same like Cisco Jabber queries the DNS server for the Srv records. I already showed you in my previous video, like how we can add these Srv records under the Cisco UDS or the underscore cup login. So the same thing we can do for the external as well. We can add the Srv records in the same way. So the first step, Cisco Jabber queries the DNS server for the service records. And if Cisco Jabber is on the internet, like we are taking the example of external. So if Cisco Jabber is on the internet, then it will go to the external DNS. So earlier when we were discussing about the Jabber, which is on the corporate network, so it should go to the local DNS and it should reply with the underscore Cisco UDS or the cup login. So now in this external, Cisco Jabber is on the internet, it will go to the external DNS first, and then external DNS should return FQDN of expressway E for the Srv query, because it doesn't know about the Srv queries. So Jabber is on the internet, it will go to the external DNS first, and external DNS should return the FQDN, fully qualified domain name of expressway E for the Srv query. Then Jabber will do one thing, then Jabber will establish connection with Expressway E, and then it will verify all the certificates and all other things with the Expressway E, like Expressway Edge. So Jabber send after once it verifies all the certificates, so Jabber will send Edge configuration and the UDS version request to the Expressway E, and then there will be a communication, like communication will start between Jabber to Expressway E, Expressway to Expressway C, Expressway C to our internal local DNS, and then local DNS to our CUCM. Like I will show you in the flow diagram how the communication is happening and how the messages are getting interchanged between Jabber to Expressways E to C to internal DNS, and then to the CUCM. So once the Jabber sends edge configuration and UDS version request to Expressway, it will like someone should reply. It will just send the request to the Expressway E, then Expressway E will send it to the C to the all other things. So once it is happening, once all the requests and responses are there, then it will ask for the home cluster from Expressway E. Like what is my home cluster so that I can just log in. So it will ask for the home cluster, and then Expressway E will send request to Expressway C and then to the CUCM. And once there is a response from CUCM to Expressway C, and then response from C to Expressway E, and then Expressway E will send the response to that client, like through that Jabber client. Like this is the response, this is your home cluster, now you can go and register. So once there are requests from in this way, then Jabber will ask for UDS server and the device associated with that user, like the CCMC IP profile. It will show like all the devices which are associated. So Jabber will ask for UDS servers and the device associated with that particular user. And after that, Jabber will ask for cnf.xml files that is on the like servers. Jabber, and then after that, Jabber will send SIP register request to Expressway E, and if everything is good, Jabber will register. So I will show you with the flow diagram. Then you will be able to understand all these things, like how the messages are getting interchanged between the Jabber to Expressways or Expressways to internal DNS to CUCM. Let me show it to you with the flow diagram. So here you can see we have the Jabber client, which is on the machine. and then we have external DNS. Then we have Expressway E and Expressway C, because this Jabber client is on the internet, so we should be having external DNS and Expressway E and Expressway C. And then we have this internal DNS, which is on our network. And then we have CUCM home UDS. So the first thing which is showing it here, the Srv DNS Srv request. So Jabber sends Srv query to logon domain. So the first which you remember, we had Cisco UDS, we had cup login, but we were having like CUCM publisher IP that is on our internal DNS. So now it is sending the request to the external DNS. It doesn't have the information about UDS and the cup login. So that's why it is showing Cisco UDS fails, cup login fails, and there is a request that is collab edge. That request will succeed because that is on the external DNS. Then this collab edge will succeed. So once this collab edge succeeds, then your external DNS will respond. So external DNS server returns FQDN of Expressway E. So external DNS will give you the FQDN of this Expressway E for the Srv query. And this UC Lab Expressway E, this is just an example like how it will send the FQDN. This is the fully qualified domain network of this Expressway E, just an example. So once this external DNS sends the FQDN, then we will directly communicate with the, like your Jabber client will directly communicate with the Expressway E. That is in the second part. That is, so now you can see it here, Jabber will establish the connection to Expressway E, and then it will verify all the like certificates and all other things. So once it verifies, it will just ask for the edge configuration. And how it will ask, like Jabber will send a get edge configuration request to Expressway E. So this is your Expressway E first and then C. Just remember Expressway E, then Expressway C, and then we have internal DNS and the CUCM home. So it will ask for the edge configuration. Jabber will ask for a edge configuration request to Expressway E. Then this Expressway E will send that same request, get edge configuration request to Expressway C. This is your Expressway C. And then your Expressway C will send Srv query to DNS server. This is your internal DNS. So Expressway C will send Srv query to DNS server. And then this internal DNS server will respond. Now you can see it here. Internal DNS returns Srv query for domain which contains FQDN of configured servers. So you have all the things configured here in the internal DNS, and then it will just respond. So this internal DNS will respond to the Expressway C. This is your Expressway C. And that the main thing that Srv domain must match Expressway E domain. So domain should be the same. So then once the internal DNS will send response to the Expressway C, the Expressway C will send HTTP 200 OK response to the Expressway E. Now Expressway C sends HTTP 200 OK to get edge request and XML configuration with all the server details. So it will send all the details to the Expressway E like TFTP server, UDS, cups, SIP edge, SIP request, HTTP edge server, and the user UDS server. It will send all the requests, all the responses here. And then that Expressway E will send the same HTTP 200 OK to get edge request from Jabber and XML configuration with all server details. It will send all these details. After once the Jabber receives all these things, it will ask for the UDS version. Like what is the UDS version? So it will again send the same request. Jabber sends a get UDS version request to the Expressway server. It will send it to you Expressway E only, because that Jabber client can communicate with the Expressway E only, and then Expressway E can communicate with the Expressway C and all other servers. So what's the main purpose of this UDS version request? It is mainly used to determine if SSO is supported, like if the single sign-on is supported or not. Then your Expressway E will send that UDS version request to Expressway C, And then Expressway C sends HTTPS request to CUCM publisher to get the version info. Like what's the UDS version, like whether it is allowing the SSO or not. Then CUCM will respond with 200 OK to that request with the version info in XML file. Then the same file Expressway C will send it to the Expressway E, and then Expressway E will send the same 200 OK to the HTTP version request with the response to the Jabber client. So once it receives the edge request, edge configuration, and the UDS version, it will ask for the home cluster. Like, what is my home cluster so that I can authenticate and log in. So Jabber will send a HTTPS request to the Expressway E again to determine the home cluster of the user. So then your Expressway E will send the same HTTPS request to the Expressway C. Expressway C will send the same HTTP request to CUCM. And then CUCM will respond with the home cluster. So CUCM sends 200 OK with XML file containing the user home cluster. Same thing happening, Expressway C will send it to Expressway E will send it to the Jabber client with the HTTP version with the response in an XML file. Then your Jabber will ask for the servers, for the UDS servers. So Jabber will send an HTTP request to the UDF for the UDS servers to Expressway E, because the Jabber wants to know the servers so it can query the server for the devices associated with that particular user. Then Expressway E will send the same request to the Expressway C. C will send it to the CUC. CUCM will respond with the 200 OK with the XML file containing the CUCM servers. And then Expressway C will send it to the Expressway E. E will send it to the Jabber client with the details of HTTP servers with the response in an XML file. So once Jabber receives those server details, it will ask for the devices, like what all are the devices associated with this particular user. So it will get user devices. Jabber sends HTTP request for the devices to the user. Expressway E will send it to the C. C will send it to the CUCM. CUCM will just revert with the 200 OK with XML containing the devices associated with the user. So Expressway C will send it to the Expressway E. E will send it to the Jabber client. So once the Expressway E sends 200 OK to the HTTP server request with the response in an XML file to the Jabber client, then Jabber client will ask for the csf.cnf.xml request, that file particular. So Jabber sends HTTP request for the XML files above. So above files are csf.cnf.xml or SP default file as well, default.cnf.xml file. So E will send it to the C and C will send it to directly to the CUCM. Then CUCM sends 200 OK with the XML file containing the required configurations. CUCM will send all the required configurations to the Expressway C, because there is a communication, like CUCM will connect it to the Expressway C only, and Jabber client will connect it to the Expressway E only, and Expressway E and Expressway C are connected with each other. So now Expressway C will send the same XML file to the Expressway E, and then Expressway E will send it to the Jabber client. After that, once the Jabber receives all those files like cnf.xml, spdefault, .cnf.xml, then Jabber will do a service discovery and will map the following configuration values to its store. So it will just add these values: CUCM configuration, CCMC IP, TFTP IP, and the CUCM version. And then service profile as configured on UDS server, it will just check for the primary and backup these things, like what are the ports, directory numbers, and all other things. And then Jabber again will send HTTP request for the devices associated to the user. It will ask for the Jabber -config.xml file and EPA SOAP service, or the dial rules or the directly lookup rules as well. It will just ask for all these things to the Expressway E. E will send it to the C. C will send it to the CUCM. And then your CUCM will send a response with 200 OK with these XML files containing devices associated with the user. It will again send it to the E, and E will send it to the Jabber client, particular Jabber client. So after that, our main Jabber registration process will begin. So at this point, user is successfully authenticated. User is authenticated already. However, the process of registering the CSF device begins here. So now the user may successfully authenticate, but the CSF device may not register. For this CSF device to register, you need to do few other things. You need to give the proper username and passwords. Then I will show you, like I will show it to you in this upcoming points 11 and 12. So as of now, until now, all messaging between Jabber and Expressway E has been via secure HTTPS tunnel. Now Jabber needs to build a secure SIP tunnel for SIP signaling. So what Jabber will do? Jabber will establish a TLS connection to Expressway E for SIP signaling and verify all the certificates. So after that, Jabber will send a SIP register request to the Expressway E. So Jabber will send a SIP register request to Expressway E, and then like Expressway E will send it to C, but C will respond like Expressway E sends 407 proxy authentication required. So it needs, like Expressway E needs an authentication for that. So Expressway E sends 407 proxy authentication required. Then Jabber will send a new SIP register request with the required credential. So it will just send the required credential. Then Expressway E will do, Expressway E sends SIP service to Expressway C to perform delegated credential checking for registration. If the credentials are good, then it will just move to the next step. If the credentials are bad, then it will just give the same thing, like authentication required or the bad service request. The process requires both servers to exchange and validate certificates. Yeah, it should validate and validate the certificates. So once the Expressway E sends SIP service to Expressway C to perform delegated credentials, then Expressway C performs delegated credential checking. Expressway C will check all the credentials, and it will exchange certificates with Expressway E and will send a 200 OK. So Expressway C will confirm like all the things are good. Then what next Expressway E will do? Expressway E sends the SIP register message to Expressway C because it already authenticated. Then Expressway E will send the SIP register message to Expressway C, and then Expressway C will send the SIP register request to this CUCM, which is at the end. It will send the same register request to the CUCM. Then your CUCM will send the 200 OK response to SIP register request. Like, okay, I'm available, or I can do this thing, I can register it. Then Expressway C will send the same response to the same SIP register response to the Expressway E. And then Expressway E sends 200 OK SIP register to the Jabber client, and then your Jabber will register. So once all these things are done, then only your Jabber will register on the CUC. I hope you are clear about this flow chart, flow diagram. If you guys have any queries on this, then please let me know in the comment section. I will try to resolve all your queries. So I hope you really liked this video, and I hope you learned something about this. Please let me know in the comment section, and please like, share, and subscribe with your friends and colleagues if you find this video really helpful. And in the next video, I will show you all the configurations on the CUCM, like how we can add the end user, how we can create the CSF devices, how we can activate or deactivate or stop all the services on present server, how we can add the gateway on the presence, and how we can like what all are the services, UC services on the CUCM, and how we can configure those services, and how we can create the service profile as well in the end users. I will show you all these things in the next video, that is in the lab video. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and I hope you will be like it. Thank you.